Good evening, good morning, and good night. Welcome to Inappropriate Radio. It's your host, Tashana. And let's get into this. I'm gonna go ahead and give the PSA now. You might get triggered by this conversation. We're gonna be just having a little conversation. That might be a little triggering, okay? Y'all have to stop expecting things that don't make sense, right? And I'm gonna get into it, but the creator had told me to tell y'all that nobody's gonna be perfect, right? And we had this conversation before about, learning how to get started, some tips and some things that helped me. Really no religion being the wrong religion and you figuring out what works best for you. Like, we had those conversations, right? But a lot of people are under the assumption that once you start walking the spiritual journey, you are supposed to be perfect, okay? That's never going to happen. We're human. You have a lot of things about yourself that God would like to work on, would like you to work on, but you're never going to be perfect. But I just wanted to raise a few concerns that I think are not of just mine. This is just really relevant to the culture, and we need to address it, okay? We need to address it. First of all, ladies, and this is for my grown women who have grown sons in particular right now. Stop expecting women to put up with your son's crap when you didn't put up with their father's crap. When you know you've taught them less than a decent, I would say, standard. When it comes to them dealing with the women, what they expect, what they would be willing to offer, how to even know the value of a woman overall. You being a strong, single black woman has become a tool and a weapon, that you have used, and you have instilled your irritations and your rage inside of your boys, and it's reflecting in how they deal with women. Obviously, if you're raising your boys with a certain level of respect when it comes to women and just their peers, obviously this is not you. And then this got me to thinking, like, why is it that we are so forgiving of men for things that women don't usually get a pass for? And there's several things, right? That's the double standard thing. Like, why does that exist? Why is there so many different things that is quote unquote acceptable for a man, but not acceptable or tolerable for a woman? And you can use your imagination and come up with whatever as far as that is concerned, right? Next thing, if you know you are going through something as a person, as a woman, as a man, as a parent, as a daughter, as a sister, as a friend, as a cousin, you have to be willing to admit to yourself what you can and can't handle. And maybe you don't want to communicate that or express that to other people. But when you are just coming on to the journey, you're going to have a lot of different things coming to challenge you, right? Not even necessarily stop you, right? Because we know that the creator is in charge of everything. But and this conversation is based on our standards, our expectations, our beliefs, right? You have this ideal, you have this mindset, or whatever it is, these ideations, and everyone doesn't have to follow that. Okay? You have your own perception and your own thinking and lifestyle and all of that good stuff. But, excuse me, what I was getting at was we have to learn that as we go through these phases, we're going to learn. We're going to have to drop people. We're going to have to incorporate some new habits and mindsets. We're going to have to drop some mindsets. And it's a process, right? That requires your effort, your knowledge, your strength, your determination, right? Your wherewithal, okay? Again, it's not just, the relationship with the creator, okay? Because God can have a relationship with you and you not have a relationship with him, if that makes sense. Let me say that again. God can have a relationship with you and you not have a relationship with him, meaning he's invested in protecting you and loving you and guiding you and caring for you and providing for you, and you not even have a care in the world for the creator. You don't even address and say, thank you for waking me up. Thank you for providing me with the shelter, with food, with the means to be able to provide for my family, with good mental sanity. Like, those are basic things. So if you can take a vacation every time the season changes or every other month, you're golden, right? Some people don't even address and take the time out. They actually believe that it is them doing all of this stuff. They don't give credit to the creator for providing them with the mindset and the personality and the tenacity and, the courage and the consistency to even make those things happen. But this is, why we're having this conversation right now. We're all human, and walking the spiritual path doesn't mean you're trying to be perfect. You don't have to be perfect. You can't be. It's no such thing. Your commitment to the creator, to your purpose, to yourself, that's the overall, scope that needs to be constantly, under review in order for you to constantly be growing spiritually. Everything else is pretty much secondary. Everything else is secondary. That's one of the main things I don't think we realize, that we idolize and put things in the position that God is supposed to be, and we put so much effort and faith and belief in one thing when, it should be actually another. So that is, the overall purpose of this conversation. I'm sorry if I'm if I'm like lagging a little, but yeah, that's the overall purpose of this conversation, because we need to understand that we're still human. Ultimately, we only have one spectacle. We're one spectacle in, the universe and God's plan and all of the creations of the creator. We're one small, very, very small piece of that. So I think it's important for us to just find out where we fit. Like, which part of the puzzle piece are you? Everything else comes together, because when you know where you fit, you'll become an instrumental piece, a very effective piece, right, to the larger puzzle. And people have this misconception that this journey is about being perfect. Maybe you are attempting to perfect. Maybe you have some edges that might need to be smoothed out a little bit. Maybe your understanding of life, as it is a little, scarce, if you will. And maybe you're not invested in the right things. But the good thing is, as long as you're here, you have the opportunity to slowly but surely investigate for yourself. What it is that you need to be doing. And I can't stress this enough. It's never gonna always be good. You're gonna have questions that will probably never be answered throughout your entire life, unfortunately. The things that the Creator wants you to focus on will constantly come up, and it'll come up in different ways, different conversations, different places. So you have to be open to what's being shown to you. And that's usually what it takes. A lot of people tend to ignore, they're either in denial, or they're so angry, or so confused, or so closed off, or so lost, right? All of us are dealing with a different energy when it comes to being receptive, and what's stopping us from accepting. Not everybody's gonna do this, and I think that's the next layer to this, because everything is a factor, right? What it is that you're teaching your child, what it is that you name your child, the environment that they're in, and even, the environment is where you're teaching them, that's a part of that, but even what you expect from them, they're all factors to, and even you can relate that to yourself. The environment that you're in, what it is that you're expecting from yourself, like all of those things play a major role in your spiritual development. And it may seem really small, but it's about reaching higher levels of consciousness, becoming more self-aware. And when you become more self-aware, you tend to start becoming a little bit more aware of your environment and the things that are just connected to you. It's just one of the things that comes with your spiritual awakening, or multiple things, I should say. It's going to be so many different shifts, and as you elevate, as you learn, as you develop, your character will start to develop as well. Your spirit, everything, remember, happens in the spirit world first. So you'll have these internal things going on, and it's usually going to start with your thinking. Or maybe it's circumstantial, maybe something happened, a traumatic situation that led you to God. It's usually something like that. It's usually trauma that leads you. So again, even that within itself is showing you that the idea of this perfection doesn't exist. So you can stop feeling like you gotta get your hair done, you gotta take your dreads out, you gotta take your braids out, you gotta take your makeup off, you gotta take it. Like, you don't have to do any of that, because as you develop, everything that's not supposed to be, everything that's not naturally a part of you, is gonna wither away on its own. You don't have to put effort into removing things that don't belong. They're gonna do that on its own, because that's just how it works. So stop feeling like you have to make all these changes, because you do not. Your relationship with the Creator will lead you directly to where you need to be. And sometimes it's going to be in places that you're like, oh, okay, now I understand why I went through that, and now I understand why you had me do this. It's not always about this perfect lifestyle or this perfect anything. Like I always like to tell people, Jesus went into the slums. The prophet couldn't read. God connects us to very ugly things so he can show us how beautiful he can make things, right? But I'm going to end it here. I do love y'all. I hope all is well. I hope y'all are drinking y'all fruit. Drinking y'all water, eating y'all fruit and vegetables, and sipping on your own tea, because it's sweet. Love y'all. Peace.